My name is Emily, I'm 40 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I was living the life I had always dreamed of. A stable marriage, a comfortable home, a husband who never raised his voice, and a routine so perfectly constructed that I never stopped to question the silences between us. But everything changed on a Thursday night. Not because he screamed. Not because he confessed. But because someone, a stranger, knew too much about me. We were supposed to be celebrating our anniversary. 15 years married. He had made the reservation, so he said, for 8 p.m. at our favorite Italian place, the one where we used to go before we had the money for weekend getaways and wine clubs. It was supposed to be nostalgic, intimate, simple. I arrived first. I remember that clearly because I was the one who gave my name to the host, and he looked at me with confusion. "I'm sorry," he said, flipping through his iPad. "There's no reservation under Emily or Carter." I laughed it off, thinking maybe he used his assistant's name again. He did that sometimes, claimed it was easier when she handled bookings. I told the host, "Try Olivia maybe?" "She's his secretary." The host paused, eyes darting back to the screen, then smiled. "Ah, yes, Olivia. Table for 2. Right this way." I nodded and followed him, assuming the mix-up was harmless. But something about the way he said her name, it lingered. The table was beautiful. Candlelight, a window view, and waiting there, perfectly chilled, was my favorite bottle of wine. Not the cheap one I keep at home. The vintage Bordeaux I'd only ever ordered once, with him, in Paris. That's when the question hit me like a quiet scream: how did she know? He arrived 15 minutes late, smelling like his cologne and a hint of hotel hallway. He kissed my cheek, smiled too wide, and acted as if everything was normal. But it wasn't. I couldn't drink the wine. I just stared at it, remembering how we laughed over that same label in France, joking that we'd buy a case when we were rich. I asked him casually, "So, Olivia made the reservation?" He nodded. "Yeah, she handles most of my schedule now, makes life easier." I smiled, took a slow sip, and asked, "Did she also pick the wine?" He blinked. "What?" "The wine," I repeated. "It was already here. My favorite, vintage and all." "You didn't order it?" His silence was short, too short. "Oh, I must have told her. I don't remember." But I did. I remembered everything. And I knew that wasn't something you tell a secretary unless she's listening, very closely. That night, I didn't confront him. I didn't raise my voice, throw the wine, or cry in the car. I went home, kissed him goodnight, and waited until he fell asleep. Then I got up, opened my laptop, and started digging. Emails. Calendar invites. Voicemails saved under work. It didn't take long. Infidelity never hides well when the liar gets lazy. And Carter, he had grown lazy. I found hotel confirmations, late-night text messages with words like "can't wait to see you," and a playlist named Her Smile. Her. The woman who knew my wine, but never met me. The woman who booked our anniversary dinner and signed it with a reminder to make it special. The woman who had been in my home when I wasn't there, because there were 2 wine glasses in the dishwasher, and I don't drink alone. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I collected. I printed. I downloaded. I dated everything. I organized it in a folder labeled Thursday. And the next day, I smiled. Because when a woman stops questioning and starts preparing, that's when the story begins. Speech balloon: if you've ever felt that cold silence before a storm, if you've ever smiled through heartbreak just to gather your strength, then you know this story isn't just about betrayal, It's about what comes after. Bell, like, comment, subscribe. The thing about betrayal is, it's rarely loud. It doesn't knock at your door or shatter glass in the middle of the night. No, betrayal is quiet. It slips into your life like a shadow behind a curtain, like a scent that doesn't belong on your husband's collar, like the way your favorite perfume ends up in someone else's purse. The morning after our anniversary dinner, I woke up before him again. He was sprawled across the bed like he hadn't lied the night before. Like his silence hadn't screamed in my face. I made coffee. I didn't need it, but I needed the motion. I needed to feel my hands doing something that didn't involve shaking or typing search terms into Google at 2 a.m. The folder labeled Thursday was tucked inside my bag, along with the receipts, screenshots, and recordings I wasn't supposed to have. I had listened to a message Olivia accidentally left when she thought she hung up. Her voice was soft, too soft, saying things like, "Don't forget the cologne I like," and "I washed the sheets," again. Again. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I wasn't ready to set fire. I wanted to collect more matches. So I started showing up at his office. Casually. Kindly. Always smiling. The first time, his assistant looked at me like she had seen a ghost. I told her I was surprising him with lunch. She stammered, "Oh, I think he's out with clients." I said, "That's okay, I'll wait." And I did. For over an hour. Long enough to see Olivia return from somewhere nearby, cheeks flushed, scarf slightly undone, wearing my perfume. Not the one from the store. The one I had custom blended 2 years ago in Florence. A soft jasmine with a hint of bergamot and memory. It was unmistakable. And it clung to her like a cruel joke. I stood there and smiled. She avoided my eyes. But I saw her. And I think, deep down, she knew that I knew. Still, I waited. Days passed. I didn't sleep. Not really. I would lie in bed, watching him type on his phone, telling me it was just work. I would kiss his cheek, listen to him lie, and think, how do you pretend so well? He had routines. That made it easier. Monday gym. Tuesday drinks with partners. Thursday, always late. So I started following him. Once. Twice. 3 times. And every time, I found pieces of her. Her lipstick in his car console. A spare earring in the cup holder. A long strand of blonde hair on the passenger seat that wasn't mine. And still, I said nothing. Because I wasn't just angry. I was becoming dangerous. I began documenting everything. Phone bills. Bank statements. Voicemail transcriptions. I wasn't just hurt, I was building a case. Not a legal one, no. A personal one. For myself. So that when the time came, I wouldn't ask him why. I wouldn't need him to admit it. I'd already know. And knowing was my power. One night, he came home late. I was on the couch, pretending to read. He said he had stayed to help Olivia finish a pitch. I nodded. He kissed my forehead. And I smiled. Because I had seen her earlier that evening, leaving a hotel 2 blocks from our house. With my husband's coat over her shoulders. And I had taken a picture. They say when a woman finally stops asking, the man should worry. Because silence doesn't mean forgiveness. It means strategy. And I had a strategy. Soon, I would no longer be the wife sitting in silence. I would be the storm he never saw coming. You know what no one tells you? That the quietest moment in a marriage isn't when you're screaming at each other, it's when you sit across the room from someone you once adored, and realize you don't recognize their soul anymore. It happened on a Thursday. The day I decided to stop asking, stop guessing, stop bleeding for a man who wouldn't even hand me a bandage. He was getting ready for another late meeting. Same cologne. Same shirt I bought for our anniversary 2 years ago. Same fake kiss on the cheek. "Don't wait up," he said. But I didn't plan to. Because that night wasn't for waiting. It was for watching him fall apart quietly. I followed him again. I didn't even have to try that hard. His patterns were as predictable as his lies: the same hotel, the same underground parking, the same woman with my perfume and my husband's heart in her purse. But this time, I wasn't alone. I had arranged for the hotel's valet to help me confirm what I already knew. A kind man named Julio. I didn't pay him. I just told him the truth, that I was tired of being lied to, and I just needed to see it, clearly, one last time. Julio handed me the security tape. I didn't cry. I thanked him. I drove home slowly, like I was driving away from a version of myself that would never come back. And when I got there, I started printing. I printed every receipt, every screenshot, every blurry parking garage image that screamed what he would never say. Then I waited. Like a woman sharpening her calm. He came home around midnight. I was already in the living room. Calm. Collected. Coffee in hand. He smiled. "Still up?" I nodded. "I wanted to show you something." I handed him the folder. Thick. Organized. Dated. He blinked. And then, silence. You know what I'll never forget? The way he stood there, flipping page after page, mouth open, but no words coming out. Like a man watching his life detonate in slow motion. He didn't yell. Didn't deny it. He just sank. "I can explain," he whispered. But I didn't want an explanation. I wanted myself back. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and came back with a small velvet box. Inside, our wedding rings. His and mine. I placed them gently on top of the folder. "I'm not going to scream," I said softly. "I'm not going to ask you to choose. I already did." And then I walked past him. Into our bedroom, where my bag was already packed. And I left. Not with fire. Not with fury. But with the matches, and the knowledge that I could have burned it all, and chose not to. Because sometimes, real power isn't in setting the house on fire. It's in walking away while it's still standing, and knowing he'll spend every day praying it doesn't collapse without you. There's a moment, after the storm has passed, when the world feels impossibly still. No more sirens. No more shouting. No more pretending. Just silence. And it was in that silence that I finally heard myself again. The day I left, I didn't go far. I didn't need to escape the city. I just needed to escape him. I stayed with my sister for a few nights, and every morning I'd wake up before the sun, sit by the window with a cup of tea, and remind myself I survived something I never thought I would. Not because I wasn't strong, but because I forgot I was. He tried calling, of course. At first, with apologies. Then, with confusion. And finally, desperation. "You didn't even scream," he said in a message. "You just left." And maybe that's what broke him the most. Because when you live with a liar long enough, silence becomes your greatest weapon. I didn't block him. I didn't throw his clothes in the street. I didn't post anything online. No public shaming. No dramatic finale. I just moved on. And oh, how he hated that. One day, about a week after I left, I walked past the coffee shop where we used to go every Sunday. The barista looked up, did a double take, and said, "Wow, you look different. Lighter." I smiled. Because I was. Lighter without the weight of doubt. Lighter without the heaviness of pretending not to notice lipstick on his collar, perfume on his car seat, lies in his eyes. I started going back to the things I used to love. I bought flowers for myself. I took myself to dinner. I danced barefoot in the living room. I remembered what it felt like to be alone, and not lonely. He showed up once. At my sister's place. I heard the knock on the door and knew it was him. When I opened it, he just stood there, looking like a man who had been chasing a ghost. "You look good," he said. I nodded. "I feel good." He tried to hand me something. A letter. I didn't take it. "I know you probably hate me," he said, eyes welling up. And that was the moment I realized. I didn't. I didn't hate him. I pitied him. Because he had everything. A home, a woman who loved him, a life full of trust, and he traded it for a thrill that didn't even last a year. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. "I hope she was worth it," I said simply. And then I closed the door. There was no dramatic music. No final fight. No looking back. Just me, standing in the quiet, choosing peace over pain. Now, when people ask me what happened, I just smile. Because they wouldn't believe me if I told them how powerful silence can be. I didn't burn his world down. I simply removed myself from it, and watched it collapse without me. And if you're listening to this, wondering if you're strong enough to leave someone who keeps tearing you apart in small, silent ways, let me tell you something. You don't have to scream. You don't have to beg. You don't have to wait for them to change. You just have to choose yourself, once. And that will be the loudest thing you ever do. If this story touched you, if you've ever walked away quietly, or wished you had, leave a comment. Share your silence. Or just write, "I chose myself." Because sometimes, the softest exit is the most powerful revenge of all.